Hey, and welcome back to Business Bloopers, Laughing Through the Pain. I'm Bethany, your guide through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, management, and everything in between. Each week, we'll dive into outrageous stories, laughable blunders that will remind us all that while business can be serious, it doesn't all have to be work and no play. Now grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into today's episode of Business Bloopers, Laughing Through the Pain. Welcome back to another episode of Business Bloopers, Laughing Through the Pain. With me today, I have my lovely co-hosts, Nicole Calca and Jessica. They are also my lovely employees. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
So first, I wanted to start off, I thought it was great to talk about how they were hired. So, would you like to tell the story and give your point of view with it? So how did we meet? How did you?
Please interject if I miss something.
Sure, go right ahead.
So I had already had a job, and I knew her mother from Vacation Bible School. And she kept asking me, do you want another job? Do you want another job? And I said, I made sure I was only working part-time, right? So I waited for her to kind of give me the go, and I hadn't heard anything. It was over the holidays, and I thought, well, maybe she changed her mind. Well, she brought it back up in about, February or so.
So let me interject a second and tell my side of the story before you get into it.
Go ahead.
So my mom had come to me and said, listen, I have this great lady. I was just in the very, small stages of wanting to hire. And I had said, I love my mother, but I had some reservations. So she said, I have this great lady. She's great. At the time, I think she thought you had older kids and younger kids.
Oh.
And so, I was very hesitant. And I said, Mom, we'll see. I just kept saying, we'll see. I kept pushing her off. My mom was resilient. She was, you got to meet Nicole. You got to see Nicole. So actually, we did youth cheer.
Yes.
Here.
Yes, we did.
And I delivered it down to Crawford Field.
Yeah.
I think at the time.
Yes, you did.
And I met you, and you were very nice. And I thought, man, don't hate me for saying this. She was a little bit older. So, and we've had talks about this where older women, with a younger boss, it's hard because you may battle. My mom and I have kind of run into that. It's a totally different topic because she's my mother. She likes control. But anyway, but so with Nicole,
Mothers. It's what we do.
With Nicole, my mom kept on. So I'm like, okay, fine. We will interview her. So I brought her in for an interview. Of course, I absolutely loved her. My mother was right. Mom, you were right. So
I think I interviewed for like 2 hours. It was supposed to only be like a half hour.
yes.
And we were talking. And before I knew it was like 2 hours. And so that pretty much sealed it. But it was funny because when I actually had met her, we were in a soccer game. My daughter was playing soccer. And it's like, I call her Mama. And I was like, Mama. And she introduced me to her daughters. And I actually thought Bethany was her sister. So I was like, oh, she's pretty cool. Like, this is great. And her son was in my daughter's grade. And I thought, this is great. And then when I came in for the interview, I was like, that's not. And they didn't much like either.
Wait, so tell them, what was your first impression of me? Because this is everybody's first impression of me.
Well, she was a little intimidating. But I would say within 10 or 15 minutes, like, we clicked. Like, it was not, I mean, we talked personal, we talked business. It was, like, smooth. Like, there was never a minute where we didn't know what to say. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So I was like, oh, this is easy.
And normally, like, with women,
Yes.
generally,
Yes.
we become very catty.
Yes.
We get very, we can't work with each other for very long periods of time.
Sure.
So when, you add two women in, you're in high stress situations, that's the test really of how you're going to work together the best. And we even have said to each other several times, like, we never get tired of working with each other. And I honestly will say, like, I think that our relationship was God-led because, she has been with me through thick and thin. And you can ask her, I'm not a yeller. I have probably yelled at her twice in
I do
2.5 years.
I'll say, don't yell at me. You're like, I did not. I said, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I gave you a look.
He has the best mama stare. She
Yeah.
doesn't have to yell. She just looks at you and gives you that.
Okay. I never, when they're talking too long at the
Yes.
machines or something, I literally will step around the corner and be like, really?
We have no
Jess-
idea what you're talking about.
Jess literally looks at me and is like, got it. We're good. So again, Nicole's been with me for almost 2.5 years now. She started out, running the machines. She can heat press. I mean, I call her my right hand man literally because she can do everything pretty much that I can do. And then we brought on Jess. So Jess, tell your story.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so
Wait, can I tell how we let
oh,
up?
absolutely.
So it's a very funny story. Hi, gospel. So my husband texts me one day and says, "Hey, I found you." Let me back up. We were kind of kicking around the idea of a machine operator in the first place. So when we first were even considering it, my husband was like, "I found you a machine operator."
I remember you telling me that. I was like,
Now, this was on a Saturday. My husband's at work. He works at a welding facility, a manufacturing plant. So I'm thinking to myself, who
Did you
find on this from Lingus to run my embroidery machine?
Just in case.
Nothing against Lingus by any means. I try to take one of our employees. But who are they bringing, a machiner and a welder to come in and run embroidery? So I text him back and I'm like, who? And he's like, oh, the outside supervisor. Yeah. The outside supervisor, John, his wife, Jessica, she's looking for a part-time job. She, what to do. So,
Okay, so I had worked a lot, being the oldest of the crew. I had worked a lot, bossing positions, things like that. And my husband finally was working to where I didn't have to work. That was all fine and good for a minute, but very quickly I found out I didn't like being at home all the time. There's only so much you can do every day because all of my children are out of the house, things like that. So my husband texts me out of nowhere, and he's like, "Oh, honey, you said you were looking for a part-time job. What about this?" And I was like, "Okay." And you'll love it. It's in an embroidery place, and Tater, it's Tater's wife. She runs it, and I was like, "Who is?" I've heard the name, but who is Tater?
Who's Tater and what kind of cheese and potatoes?
And I'm like, okay, what does she say? Oh, she's the one that made the Christmas, sweatshirts and hats and things for Christmas. I was like, oh, no, you've got to be kidding me. Because that's right up my alley. I love sewing. I love crap. I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking my little personal embroidery machine I have at home, And I'm like, oh, that sounds like a dream. And he's like, well, okay. Between the two of them, they figured out we would make it happen.
It's like our arranged marriage.
So I come in, and when I come in, I walk in this front door, and I walk through the display room into the actual manufacturing area. And I see these machines, and I'm just like, this is not us.
Well, it's funny because I had to hire a machine operator because I think Nicole was boycotting me because she's like, she can run every machine here, but that is not her strength. That is not what we need her to be for embroidery.
Yes. So I walked back there, and similar to yours, but the cool thing was I was interviewing with you, but over on the other side of the room, Nicole's back's to me. And she's trying, you could tell, she's trying to stay out of it. We let Bethany do his footy. And
one of those where you're like, yeah, so this is the, and that, oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And I loved it because before we knew it, all three of us were talking. We had talked through all the business part. And we just clicked.
Right.
All of us.
Yeah.
They loved my accent.
Oh, that was the first thing. Oh, and that's another one of the things we tease Jess.
yes.
We'll never be never unhear it again. Bethany.
love it. But yes, by the time we were all done, it had been like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Mhm.
And I went home and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to get too excited, but I really love this. And here we are. What that was January, wasn't it?
Was the end of January.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here we are, all these months later, and honestly, like my husband's wanting to retire soon, and he's wanting to take off and travel the U.S. and I love the idea, but I am so hesitant.
And I think
because I don't want to leave here.
What? Of course,
This
this is like again.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, you have to.
Can't leave unless we
Tell Tyler he needs to step it up on Bethany House because I have that service.
But we're going to Poland, so.
Calm down. Before you know it, Nicole and her crew will be downstairs.
Yeah.
Forget your building your new house.
No.
We're just moving. Forget
But
that.
I love it because we are like this. We
All the
are.
time. Oh, and one person we cannot forget is Maya. We have to Maya shout out.
So much.
She was our college intern and came here. And actually, that's a funny story too, Nicole. You want to tell that story?
That is funny.
Nicole found Maya,
I found mine. So I have an obsession with fruition.
which is a cute little coffee shop down the street.
Down, and I would go in there all the time. And this really cute blonde girl's in there, and I knew that a lot of the college girls and kid boys would work there. I don't know how we just started talking, and I was like, "Oh, what do you go to school for?" And she was like, "Oh, graphic design." And I'm like, "Oh, well, this is perfect because that's a part of our business that requires a lot of time and effort." And so I said, "Well, do you have an internship?" And I think she did at the time, but I said, "Well, are you looking for a job?" And she said, "Oh, I consider it." So we exchanged numbers, and then she came in and interviewed, and
Which is actually one thing that we were looking to outsource at the time too, was graphic design. That's how all of our positions have come to
literally.
is why I said that you're all God led because every time we've said, oh, we need to hire for this position, boom, right there. So Maya came and worked for us. She was free at first,
like 30 hours or something.
And then, for like 30 hours because of her college classes. Yeah. And then she came on with us part time. So she worked about 12 hours a week or something.
Yeah.
And
she was great.
but it was funny, before we hired Jess, it was Nicole and I, and we always joke because my middle name is Nicole.
Yes.
So we're like, okay, perfect. They have to be associated with Nicole.
Yeah.
So then Maya was hired and her middle name is Nicole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
But you and Sydney have the same middle name. So we're
Yes, that's true.
Her daughter, Sydney, has the same middle name. No, so Maya, we miss you very much. I know you're gonna be watching this.
More than you can.
But she of course graduated from college and went into her career path. But yes, we were very, very glad to have her with us. Okay, so my next question for you guys, is I want you to think of a scenario that we have had to laugh through the pain. Not like that's not every day, but I need a specific scenario.
Just every day.
You go first, Jess, because you
Just
are
watch.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. I genuinely can't think of a specific one because we do laugh through our personal pain, we laugh through our professional pain. That's one thing I love about you ladies is we're able, like you mentioned, the caddies. We don't have that. We, I've tried to encourage my family to be more supportive of each other and stop being so catty. Because it even happens in families, and it was one thing I was so glad we walked in here. But yeah, we've laughed through
the huge
my first day.
Yes, that
First day to work, there was a thick layer of ice. That was probably my favorite one. That had to be my favorite one.
Yes.
My first day at work, and Bethany looks at me, she said, "You came on a great day. We have a Mack truck coming with 8 pallets of hard nuts. I had no idea what I was stepping
Hey,
into.
I gotta break them in.
That's it.
I was out before we knew it. Nicole's out there about to pee her pants. She's laughing so hard. Me and Bethany had plastic snow shovels.
Just right behind. You know, like this ice. Delivery guy. You know. He's a pallet jacker. So he's like pushing this pallet jack.
And God, like his feet are sliding more than the wheels are.
So he's
Yes.
He
did.
Oh my gosh, that was great. By the time we got done, we were all sitting there going, what?
Yeah, the day's over.
And you and I were busting ourselves in two trying to get the ice broke up.
Oh, before.
And once Nicole started laughing, we all started.
I mean, I took pictures of it because I'm gonna look back and laugh.
Yeah.
For years to come.
Yeah.
So that was that was that is. Okay. I mean, if like specific orders or just. I mean, I remember doing an order and it was puff on hats and.
Oh.
I think you, me, Tater, Tyler. I think we were all trimming, and I think it took days. Like there were so many hats, and there was so much puff. And
there's one particular order that I think you're talking about that was very fine.
Yes.
Detailed.
And I think my hands hurt from that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was another thing. I actually had carpal tunnel surgery in the middle of all this. I would be trimming, and I'm like, I can't. I gotta
That
stop.
was before me. Yeah.
Yes, it was. It was so painful. I'm like, I have to stop. And Bethany would be like, "Are you okay?" And I'd say, yes. I'm like, I can't work here anymore unless I get this fixed. So I was out for a few days, but I'm good as new.
So I have a question. How long did it take you before you started getting like slap happy? Trying to get that detail done.
So I will say, and people who know me, I love cuss words. Okay, you guys know.
Surely not.
So that and rap music are two ways that I can get through things. So if there's an issue and we just put on some ludicrous, I'm good to go. Like I'll just start laughing and
You get ludicrous.
Yes,
Music.
that's another thing. Coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that's when we know we need to step away. If something like that happens, we're like, let's go get a coffee, just regroup, and then come back.
How many times have like the machines like broken needles?
Oh, the needles.
They're worse than children.
They are.
If we
say that all the time.
Oh, I do. They're literally, they feed off of your energy.
Yes.
And, you know, when something happens, you literally just have to walk away
Yes.
and take a breather. And, you know, we literally have gotten to the point where we're like, okay, we're not going to push these machines into traffic today.
Right. Yeah. Even though
We're just going to
I love them. But
yeah, we fret.
oh yes, love them. I mean, like they're my kids.
literally like you treat them like your
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There was something I was going to say on the lines of what you talked about. I'm having PTSD.
Literally.
Shoot, what we just
Big orders. Drinking coffee.
I don't know. My favorites are field trips.
Oh, well, we've done a lot of those.
yes,
Yes,
recently.
we have.
Like
Yes.
tomorrow, we're going to go volunteer and stuff the bus. And to help, if you're not familiar, it's a program where they help children with back to school apparel and eye exams and dental exams and haircuts through the United Way. And it's a great organization, so we're going to go donate our time tomorrow morning. But
What about the Green Art people? They've come. Remember, we've let them do tours. and
that's right.
That was fun.
That was fun. We let them rip the backs off of the hats and to help us.
Oh,
The project scenes.
The high school seniors came from.
Oh, from West Virginia.
Yeah,
that's
that's
right.
right.
Yeah.
We like to incorporate the public. I mean, the
Community.
community. I think that's great
Yeah.
because I don't think a lot of people actually know what goes on here.
No,
I mean,
I had no idea.
really.
And
You
that's-
know,
I think that's the one thing I'm starting to pick up. I think that's one thing I was going to touch upon was, you know, a lot of people see the finished product but they don't see how it's made or the things that we go through to get it to where it needs to be. You know, we just did an overnight shirt order literally for somebody who texted me last week and said, hey, you know, so sorry miscommunication, you know, we need these shirts Tuesday afternoon, and we got it done. So, but I think that's one thing you could say about us too is we care, and that's one thing that we put behind everything.
That's one thing I loved about Bethany when I first started was it didn't take long at all before I realized how much both of these ladies work to help the community and especially the children around us. And that, it touched my heart. It really did. Because a lot of people, they start these small businesses and they just get wrapped up in their own business.
Yes.
And I get it.
Yes.
I get it, absolutely. But I'm actually worried about you a time or two. Oh my God, love her. She's going to spread herself so thin.
Right.
But she always manages to find it.
Right.
I think part of it's your youth. And so,
Yes, me too.
but no, I really do. They both genuinely care about the community around them. And that just, it really touched my heart about both of you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
I was more thankful. Just tag along.
We appreciate that. And I heard something on a podcast I was just listening to the other morning is that you spend a majority of your time with your work family. So we call us a part-time family because, we spend a lot of time together and we care about one another and we care about our products. So, that's why you have to have the laughter, you have to have the, the field trips to get RGB coffee, which is
And the tears.
and the tears and all of it. So, you may see a finished product, but you don't see the needles that broke behind it, or or the celebration.
Yes, to it.
I will tell you a story.
Oh, yes.
When Jess finished the duffel.
Oh, yes.
We were wrapped up in the middle of something, and I can't remember what we were doing, but Jess said once she finished these duffel bags, she wanted to have a celebration.
Yes, I did.
So she set up her camera, and you can tell me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
She set up her camera in the hallway, and she threw confetti over herself.
I gathered up the do not eat packets that come with cake because they drove me crazy through
Every time you
pallets of these duffel bags. Every time you pick one up, 2 to 3 would fall out, and I kept throwing them away. And then finally, I got towards the end, I was like, "No, this is my confetti." And I did it. Nobody would celebrate with me.
We
So
all
I still have my
wrapped up in jobs or something.
Yeah, it was busy that day. I was like, "Dude, safe."
For like So we celebrate our victories as well, not only the hardships, but the victories as well, because those are just as important as, as the hardships and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
how much time?
You're 23 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool. We got another 15 minutes. 10 minutes, 7 minutes. 23? Oh, 7 minutes. That's it.
Yeah, the new core map, yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a little special guest.
Oh,
Tyler, where'd you go?
Here's the buffer.
This is our little co-host, Parker Louise Banner. She's my little fabulous one, Nicole.
She's the best.
We have all watched her.
Yes, we have.
Oh my God.
I've been changing your diapers since you were newborn.
I was literally getting ready to have her the night before around
Yes.
11:30.
That was crazy.
I know. Trying to get Nicole ready and, for my maternity leave and everything. So, she didn't know he's dad. Okay, bye, Bubba. Bye-bye.
Oh, I loved it because when I first came around, she wasn't walking yet. And of course, she had to take the time that I was off to start walking. So I came back and that is time.
That was her.
I was there.
No, that's her.
I'm not blaming you. She's so and her first teeth.
That's right.
Word.
Peekaboo.
Oh, she's so perfect.
She's our growing project. Our
Yes,
growing
She
project.
helps take the thread off.
it takes the village.
Yes.
It takes the village.
Well, thank you for joining us on this great episode of Business Bloopers, Laughing Through the Pain. See you next time. And that wraps up another great episode of Business Bloopers, Laughing Through the Pain. We hope you had a good laugh and maybe even found some inspiration in the stories we shared today. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. We love hearing your feedback and any bloopers that you'd like to share. Join us next time for more laughs, lessons, and maybe a few more of our own business blunders. Until then, keep smiling, keep learning, and remember, in the world of business, it's okay to laugh at yourself. Thanks for listening.